beautiful people. I hope you're having a great day. I've got another snack recipe video for you today. So we've got 6 snacks. They're all nice and easy to make. We're gonna do 2 snacks that are savory and 4 sweet ones. And they're all quite simple. A couple of them require some cooking and some baking, but they're nice and simple to make, and they're made out of simple ingredients, nothing too fancy, nothing too expensive. And the best thing is that these snacks are not only good for us, but they're also great for our kids. So the first snack we're gonna do is zucchini and corn fritters. And those ones we're gonna bake in the oven. So it's gonna be super easy, and you don't have to use oil or a pan or fry anything. And it's a great way to get your kids to get veggies into their diet. You can throw those into their lunch boxes, and they're just great for snacks or lunch or whatever. Okay, so let's get started. This is what we're gonna need for this recipe. We're going to need some oat bran, okay? So that's like oatmeal, but it's all crushed up. We're going to need some grated zucchini. So I've got 3 medium to large size zucchini grated up here. And we are going to need half a cup of Parmesan, or you can use mozzarella. I use light and tasty, shredded cheddar cheese or mozzarella, whatever you like. So I'm going to use for this recipe a bit of both, but you can choose. If you don't like the smell of Parmesan, if you're finding that it's a little bit too smelly, I personally love it. You can just use mozzarella or whatever. I'm going to use in this recipe, I'm going to use half a cup of Parmesan, and I'm going to use half a cup of light cheddar cheese or mozzarella, shredded. Okay, we are going to also add a little bit of garlic powder. So this is not garlic salt, this is just garlic powder. I'm also going to add a little bit of smoked paprika for flavor, but you can add any ingredients that you like, any herbs and spices that you like. A bit of salt, pepper. You can use ground pepper, of course, as well. We're going to have a tin of corn kernels, nice and simple. 1 egg to make it all stick together, and you can add any fresh herbs of your choice. These are from our little garden. Fresh parsley, I can't believe it grows in June. I didn't think herbs grew in winter, but there you go. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna start, I'm going to show you what I'm doing with the zucchini first. So as you can see, I've cut off these end bits. I'm keeping these ones here just so that I've got something to hold on to. We're going to grab a grater, a large bowl so things don't fly everywhere, and we're going to use the big holes on the grater. I'm going to grate up our zucchini. Okay, so now what we're going to do with the zucchini, we're going to let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes just to get that water out, because it is a very watery vegetable and you want to try and get that water out of it as much as possible, otherwise it's all going to come out when you're baking it. And then we're going to put a tea towel, put it all into a tea towel, all of the zucchini. We've got 3 in here. I'm going to squeeze it, all that water out. Okay, so let's go ahead and add an egg in no particular order. 1 egg. I'm using, for 3 zucchinis, I'm using 125 grams of corn. Make sure you drain the water out. Okay. Adding our parmesan into it. Half a cup of light cheddar or light mozzarella as well. You don't have to add cheese into it if you don't want to, but cheese does make it taste better. Now I'm going to add half a cup of oat bran, or you can substitute it with almond meal as well. I'm just going to put a little bit of, that was supposed to be a little bit of paprika, so don't do what I just did. That is like way too much paprika. Damage control, quick. Shit happens. Okay, I like paprika. Okay, that was supposed to be a little bit of paprika. Okay, a little bit of garlic powder, not too much. I'm using pink Himalayan rock salt. You don't need too much salt because we already have cheese in there, and a bit of pepper. Okay, and now we're going to mix it all together. That's it. Get into it. Don't be scared. Mix it all up. Okay, and this is optional, but I'm also adding half a cup of finely chopped onion. I've chopped it really fine, otherwise you're going to have these big chunks of onion. So you can add that in as well. And let's not forget our parsley or coriander. You can use chives, whatever you like. Okay, so here I've lined up my tray with some alfoil and baking paper to keep the tray nice and clean, so I don't have to, because if all this stuff sticks to the tray, it's awful. And then the baking paper will stop the fritters sticking to the alfoil, because otherwise it seems to stick a little bit. You can spray a little bit of olive oil spray. Just make sure you get pure olive oil spray, none of that cooking spray stuff, because it's got a whole bunch of chemicals. I just use extra virgin olive oil spray. That's it. So I'll spray my tray a little bit, not too much. And I'm gonna use a large tablespoon. I'm just gonna spoon my mixture out onto the plate. And voila, we've got 12 out of that amount. I'm going to spray a little bit of olive oil on top, not too much. Again, it's optional, you don't have to, but it's gonna make them just become a little bit more golden brown. And we're going to bake these for about 20 minutes on 230 degrees Celsius. And yeah, we're going to check them, and once they look nice and golden and they're all stuck together, hopefully they won't fall apart, yeah, then they're ready to go. And this is our zucchini and corn fritters. I probably could do with just 2 eggs, but this is okay, more protein. So yeah, these are ready to go as well. You can pack them into your lunch boxes, or you can just have them for snacks. You can even make like a little yogurt dip or hummus, whatever you want. Okay guys, let's move on to our next recipe. This one is another great way to get your kiddies to eat vegetables and also to get you to eat vegetables as well. So I've cut the veggies. I've got zucchini, asparagus and carrot here. You can have sweet potato as well. You can get creative. You can probably even use capsicum, but these are the three that I'm using for this recipe. This is even simpler than the last recipe. You need 2 eggs. I've mixed them up, beat them up, and we're going to use some almond meal, and that's going to be our crumbs. You can again also add some parmesan in it if you want more flavor. I am not going to use parmesan for this one because I've run out. So, but if you do, if you don't mind parmesan, I would recommend to add a little bit into it. Okay, so into our almond meal, I am going to add some salt. If you're adding parmesan, then you don't need too much. I've probably got about a cup of almond meal here for 1 whole zucchini, 1 bunch of asparagus, and 1 large carrot. I'm not sure if I'm going to need that much. I may not. I'm also going to add, again, garlic powder. These are my favorite herbs that I use. You can feel free to use whatever herbs you like. Paprika. I'm going to be careful with paprika this time. And some pepper. Okay, mix it all up just to give it nice flavor. I'm going to pretend I've got parmesan in it. Okay, so now we're going to just dip all these veggies into the egg mix first, and then roll it into the almond meal and lay it out onto a baking tray.
Good for a weekend.
This is what the vegetable little chips look like. Asparagus is super crispy. You might want to take asparagus out a little bit earlier because that cooks a bit quicker. These are the carrots and the zucchini. Let's try them. Pretty good. But you've got to eat them straight away while they're crispy. And if you want to reheat them, you can throw them back in the oven and just heat them up a little bit. Don't heat them up in the microwave. Let's move on to our sweet snacks. So this recipe is great. You can have it for breakfast, or you can have it as a dessert or a snack. It's pretty versatile. So the main ingredient I'm using here is chia seeds. I've got black chia seeds, but you can use mixed ones, whatever you like. I'm using maple syrup to sweeten it, but you can use, if you don't want too much sugar, you can even use natural stevia to sweeten it with, or coconut sugar and things like that, honey. But I'm making this recipe completely vegan, so I'm using maple syrup. I've got desiccated coconut here, so I will add about 1/4 cup in each cup. So I'm making 2 cups, so that's 2 servings. And I'll give you the amount of ingredients for 2. I've got slivered almonds here. You can use any nuts that you want. And I've got 4 chopped up strawberries. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to add, I've already set these before a little bit, they're still setting. So you will add 1/2 cup of chia seeds into each one of them. So there's 1/2 cup of chia seeds in 1 serving. I'm using about 2/3 of a cup of soy milk. You can use almond milk, you can use normal milk if you don't mind. And also through a few of these slivered almonds. I didn't really measure them, so just whatever you feel like. And 2 tablespoons of maple syrup per serve. Then ideally you would want to put them in the fridge for 2 hours. If you're planning to have these for breakfast, then I recommend that you prepare them the night before and then in the morning you can just add your almonds on top and your strawberries. So I've had these in the fridge for about an hour. I think they can do a little bit more because they're still a little bit liquid. So what will happen, the chia seeds are going to swell up. They swell up quite a fair bit. So with the 2/3 of soy milk in here, the chia seeds are going to take all of that soy milk into themselves and boof up. So let's put them back in the fridge and we're going to let them set. And in the meantime, and then we're going to add the toppings afterwards once they're set. In the meantime, I'm going to show you the next recipe, which is one of my favorites and the one that I make probably the most frequently because they're very, very convenient to take with you everywhere. And they're absolutely delicious. Protein balls, oh well actually they're not exactly protein balls, they're bliss balls, but you can add protein into them. Okay, so let's put these away. So this recipe only requires 5 ingredients and that's your base recipe for your bliss balls or chocolate balls. So we are going to use 1 cup of pitted dates, and I prefer to wash it a little bit in the hot water because it makes them a bit softer and easier to chop up with your knife, and also it just cleans them a little bit because sometimes they use that oil to preserve it or something like that, and I prefer to get rid of it. Then we've got 1/2 cup of oat bran. You can replace it with almond meal if you prefer, or you can use gluten-free oat bran. Again, this is a vegan recipe, there's no dairy in there. I'm using 1 cup of natural peanut butter here. You can change it for almond butter if you're allergic to peanuts or you don't like peanuts. You can swap it for almond butter, cashew butter, but just make sure you get sugar-free, no added sugar, no added salt, because we don't want to eat all that stuff, right? So natural nut butter. 1/2 cup of raw cacao powder, or you can use cocoa powder. And I've got some desiccated coconut here to roll your balls into later. So this amount will make roughly 10 balls or thereabouts. I like to use a big bowl to mix it all in, and also I recommend using latex gloves because if you ladies have long nails, all that stuff gets under the nails. I actually don't have any more gloves. I've run out. I've used them all up. So I'm going to have to just do it like that. Yes, let's start with chopping up our dates. Of course, you can mix it all in a mix master or your blender. If you oat bran or almond meal, our nut butter, cocoa powder, and let's get mixing. If you feel like it's a little bit too dry, you can add a little bit of water into it. And it seems like mine is a little bit too dry. It's hard to mix it together. So I'm going to add 1/2 cup of water or soy milk. Actually, maybe even just 1/4 to start with. 1/4 cup of water. I'm going to see if I need more later. So let's keep mixing. And I'll show you what consistency you want it to be. I think this is enough. 1/4 cup of water I've added. This is all starting to mix a little bit together. I make balls about this size. Let's just roll them up first. Okay, so let's just roll them in coconut.
Boys, only one love if it's torture.
And all done. So I actually got about 15 balls out of that amount. So I'm going to put them in the fridge now and they're going to set and they're ready to go. And your kids will love these too because, hello, it's chocolate. Okay, so this next recipe is super duper easy. So we are making apple slices like this. You can slice them up whatever way you want. Some people have that core thing that takes the core out. I've cut it out with a knife, but if you can't be bothered, just slice them into normal slices. This snack is ideal to eat straight away because the apples go brown if you don't eat them straight away. I'm using my peanut butter. You can use almond butter, of course. Just gonna put this onto my apple. I'm just going to make 3 for now because it's gonna go to waste. Then put some cranberries on top. I almost forgot to mention that I get the reduced sugar craisins, which are cranberries, 50% less sugar. So these are obviously a lot better for you than the ones that have a lot of sugar in them. And I'm using some pumpkin seeds. Sprinkle on top. You can use sunflower seeds, you can use chia seeds, you can use some nuts, almonds, crushed walnuts, but I'm using these ones. So there you go, perfect snack. Okay, we've got one last recipe, and I can't even call it a recipe because it's so ridiculously simple. We've got 2 ingredients, dried fruit and almonds or whatever nuts you like. We're going to grab our dried fig and we're going to stick our almond inside of it. Okay, you can even stick a couple in there if you've got big figs. There you go. You've got to pierce it with the sharp end of the almond. Let's get it in there so you get nice. I usually like to put 2 almonds per fig. And there you go, there's your dried fig stuffed with almonds. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope some of these recipes are going to come in handy. Let me know how you go with these in the comments below and I'll see you next time.